Welcome to the Falcon Focus Podcast as we recap the week that was and preview the week that will be in Falcon Athletics. My name is Matt Menzl. We're live as we are every Tuesday from 9:30 to 10 o'clock here on Facebook Live and archived on cuwfalcons.com. You can also download the podcast, Podbean. You can find the link at cuwfalcons.com. We're also, as we're live here outside the Falcons Nest in the Student Union, we're joined by a couple of guests, and this week we talk men's golf with junior Sam Schlosser. We also talk women's volleyball. They have their home opener coming up on a Saturday against MSOE at 12 noon. Mackenzie Wockenfus will be our guest. She is a senior for the 7-2 reigning back-to-back conference champion volleyball team. But we begin our show by recapping the week that was, a busy week in Falcon Athletics. We begin by looking at men's soccer. And for the men's soccer team, their week began on Wednesday, on September the 12th, as they hosted Carroll University, knocked off the Pioneers in non-conference play by the final score of 3-1, improving to 3-0 at Fitting Field. And in those three home victories, they've been able to outscore the opposition by a combined score of 7-1. In the Pioneer win, Brian Tenner, along with Paulo Lasila and Simon Da Silva, all finished with goals. A game that, again, would see the Falcons jump in front 3-0. Week wrapped up for the men's team on Saturday. They were under the lights at UW-Whitewater. A tough 1-0 loss in their final non-conference test, allowing the lone goal in the 75th minute. Women's volleyball, a busy weekend as well. First, the week began with a conference opening thriller against Lakeland on Wednesday. Ended up knocking off the Muskies 3-2. Winning the second and third sets, also taking a decisive fifth set by the final score of 18-16. The team had 12 service aces, and among the leaders in the attack, you had Megan Mayer with 17 kills. The fifth consecutive conference opening win for the Falcon volleyball program. We then went to Kenosha this past weekend, and they were tested in non-conference play. On Friday, knocked off St. Mary's 3-1 despite dropping the first set. They had lost to St. Mary's just 6 days earlier in Stevens Point, so getting some revenge there. And then Saturday, a couple of good tests. First, it was a victory against the Chicago Maroons program, who was receiving votes for the top 25. Knocked off Chicago 3-1. And again, as has been the case over the previous X amount of matches, lost the first set, yet bounced back to take sets 2, 3, and 4. And they wrapped up with an upset of Carthage, the 19th ranked program, a team that had knocked off the Falcons in the NCAA tournament the year before. Beat Carthage 3-1, in which Megan Mayer had 18 kills along with 18 digs, and the team hit .228 in that upset victory. In men's golf on Friday and Saturday, it was the Midwest Regional Fall Classic from Illinois. The team finished 13th out of 32, a score of 639 for the two rounds. Carthage ended up finishing in first with a score of 600 for the two rounds. Individually, Sam Schlosser, 157. He was tied for 29th, and then Dylan Carvalho, one shot back at 158. And again, we'll talk more of men's golf in just a little bit. In women's golf, they took 5th out of 7. That was in the Marion Fall Invitational, shooting a .401. In field hockey, their first loss of the season came at Earlham. That was a 4-2 loss despite leading 2-1 at halftime, in which Brianna Bueller and Gabrielle Poole each scored goals for the Falcons. They then played an exhibition game on Sunday against Bellarmine and lost 5-1. The field hockey team will be back in action again on the road, getting conference play started this upcoming weekend. In women's tennis, continuing to dominate in conference play, and on Saturday, they knocked off both Concordia Chicago and Dominican, both scores 9-0, making now 33 consecutive conference victories. And when you take a look in the women's tennis realm of things, the Falcons only lost 8 games to Concordia Chicago, only 3 games to Dominican in all the matches, while also never losing a single set. Do note that Ricky Budowitz, a freshman, the reigning NAC Women's Tennis Athlete of the Week, she played number 3 singles, came away with a couple of 6-0 match wins. In football, great non-conference win against Elma on Saturday over at Tomasini Stadium. That was part of the MIAA NAC Challenge Series. And the football team able to win 26-15 at 384 offensive yards. Quarterback Aaron Nixon, he was the NAC Offensive Player of this past week. He threw for 277 yards. Josh Sanders, again, he's Nixon's favorite go-to receiver. Monster first quarter. Big game in which he ended up finishing with a couple of touchdowns. He had 9 catches, 179 yards in the win. Josiah McDermott defensively had a couple of interceptions. The football team now with 2 victories and 1 defeat as they go into their bye week in preparation for conference play. And finally, women's soccer. This past weekend, they lost at number 25, Kelvin. 6-1 setback on Saturday as Crosby Kowalski had the lone Concordia goal. And then on Sunday, they went to St. Mary's in Indiana and fell 3-1. They were up 1-0 behind a goal by Allison McElwee. So that was the week that was in Falcon Athletics. And when we come back, we talk men's golf. We'll be joined by Sam Schlosser. Stay tuned. You're tuned into the Falcon Focus Podcast. Welcome back to the Falcon Focus Podcast as we turn our attention to men's golf, being joined by Sam Schlosser, one of the juniors on the golf team. And Sam, first of all, thanks for your time. But,
Thank you.
Just curious, how did golf become your sport of choice?
Yeah, so at a young age, my grandparents and mom and dad were huge into golf, got me introduced to the game, and played regularly through my youth. And once I got to high school, it really started getting big.
Did you find it to be enjoyable? Was it a frustrating sport? Was it, peaceful?
I mean, it goes both ways. You take the good with the bad, but for the most part, I've been grateful to have given an athletic ability by God, and I'm thankful for that, so it wasn't as hard as it could have been.
Go back to your high school days at Kewaskum, and you were a conference champion, a player of the year as a senior. How would you go about summarizing your high school career?
All those things are great. I was very grateful for them, but I never made it to state, which is a huge goal of mine. But overall, it was a good time.
I guess in high school, did you like the progress you made maybe from one year to the next? In that regard, obviously, as you said, you maybe fell short of an individual goal, but did you like the progress you were making?
Yeah. My freshman year to sophomore year, I was huge into baseball, so I didn't make much of a jump. But once I got to my junior, senior year and took it more seriously, that's when I seen improvement.
Did something change? What made golf, all of a sudden, I mentioned it's your sport of choice, but how did you go about making golf maybe more serious in your life versus another sport like baseball?
Yeah, so I was undersized, and golf doesn't really matter what size you are, and I could hit it as far as anyone that I play with just about, so it really, it was more fair. Like baseball is undersized, and it's just harder, so that's why I made the transition to golf.
So then how did golf, or I should say, how did Concordia then work in your future plans?
Really, at first I came here for the school. I knew about the golf team, and I talked to Coach Greg Nikolai, and he was great. And so I decided to just give it a chance, and ended up being good so far.
Is it, I'm not a golfer. Miniature golf, that's about as far as I go. Is it difficult transition to go from baseball to golf? Obviously you're swinging a club or a bat. Does that sometimes mess with your golf swing or your baseball swing?
Yeah, so my senior year I didn't play baseball, and I always thought it wasn't that big of a deal. And then that year I didn't play baseball, I seen major improvements just from not playing. So when I came here, I was fresh and sharp and ready to go.
At Concordia, your freshman year, you competed in a total of 7 events, 16 rounds. How do you think at least your first collegiate season went?
It was pretty good. I struggled in conference the second part in the spring, but other than that, I think we did good as a team, as good as we could have done, so it was good.
Depending on some of the athletes you talk to in other sports, when you ask about the transition from the high school level to the collegiate game, one of the big things a lot of athletes will say is the big adjustment is speed, or maybe the size of the athletes or the competition level. How about in golf? Is there a big adjustment or transition that needs to be made from one level to the next?
Well, the courses are a little bit longer. I don't know if that's necessarily harder, but they're a lot longer, which is just a change. Nothing drastic. It's still golf.
So then heading into your sophomore year, where you're a little more maybe confident in knowing after having one collegiate season under your belt what to kind of expect?
Yeah. Once I got to my sophomore year, I just came out there with more confidence than ever. And I had goals set in my mind, and I reached a few of them. But it was just a totally different feel as a team. So.
Yeah, what a sophomore year. You were able to put together a NAC championship, Player of the Year honors, set the program record for a 72-hole score, and then had 9 rounds in the 70s. Could you have ever jumped such a successful year maybe from one year to the next?
Well, I always thought I was capable freshman year too. I just felt I didn't know the courses well enough. So my sophomore year, I actually was able to go out there with a mindset of knowing the course and being able to plot out each hole. So it's a big advantage being a little older.
Junior year now, let's take it kind of event by event, and it began with the Culver's Edgewood Fall Classic. You shot a 75. How did you feel the weekend went?
I've gone off the slow starts in every single round so far, that one included, but I managed to save that round, so it's all right. So far, it's okay.
And then you had Carthage, a 154 for the 2 rounds. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, I struggled a little bit. It's just these slow starts are killing me. I just can't do that. Toss up high scores right away and just come in from the bottom.
Is there something you attribute that to? Is there something that you feel like, if I can correct this area of my game, I can get off to a better start?
Yeah, honestly, driving the ball has been a big struggle for me. I've lost multiple shots to the right. It's always to the right. And other than that, I don't know. It'll come.
What did you make of this past weekend at the Midwest Region Fall Classic?
It's a tough course. It's a little weird, but if you're not driving it well, you're not going to score well. So another slow start, I shot 42 on the front, 34 back to save the round, but having to save rounds is getting really old.
You talk about courses and how that comes into play, and maybe longer courses now here at the collegiate level. Do you have a favorite course that you play during the season? Is there one you prefer versus others?
Honestly, the Irish, Whistling Straits Irish, is our conference course in the fall. That's probably my favorite. It's so picturesque, and it's just cool. But Stonebridge also. Okay. It's not that good of views at Stonebridge, but it's just a really mentally tiring course, so it takes a lot of mental toughness.
Preparation-wise, do you study the course a little bit going in? Is it just kind of a feeling out process? How do you go about preparing course to course, especially if you don't know a course?
Yeah, it depends on the size of the tournament, the magnitude of it, but like for conference, I do plot it out. I have everything written down and ready to go. But after a couple years, I kind of know now. So
you look at the team this year. Who are some of the other golfers that maybe stand out to you that you say, hey, besides yourself, watch out for this guy?
Yeah, so Andrew Otto is definitely one of our top players. And Dylan Carvalho made a big jump this year. He went from a career best 78 last year to now 73 this weekend, which is awesome because he's always been capable. He just finally put together. And then senior Bailey Van Handel, too. You have to watch out for him, and Jake Tenlin.
And then team-wise in the conference, who are some of the teams to watch out for?
Aurora, they've posted a lot of low scores already this year. They're going to be tough to beat, but, it's nothing we can't do. So.
Aurora, the defending conference champs. Before that, Wisconsin Lutheran taking 3 consecutive titles. I guess finally, goals you have for yourself, goals you have for your team as you guys go forward with this season.
Yeah, so our main goal is just to obviously win conference, get to nationals. Other than that, some individual goals is try to repeat and just keep that average low and do the best I can to help my team.
Well, Sam, thanks a lot for your time. Best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
That's men's golfer Sam Schlosser. When we come back, Mackenzie Wockenfus as we talk women's volleyball as we continue with the Falcon Focus Podcast.
The Student Personnel Administration in Higher Education, or SPAHI program at Concordia University is designed for people who want to work in the university setting in any department. So if you're interested in working in academic advising, campus activities, residence life, admissions, financial aid. This program is really designed for anyone interested in those areas. The mission of Concordia is to help students develop in mind, body, and spirit, and that was really evident in the program. I really enjoyed that I could be in class one night and take what I learned and apply it on the job the very next day. My name is Amber Schiesel, and I am a SPAHI graduate.
Welcome back to the Falcon Focus Podcast. Now we switch gears to women's volleyball, and what a busy and tough stretch it has been to start the year. Yeah, the team's 7-2, but after they wrap up their conference matchup tonight at Edgewood, it'll be 10 consecutive on the road to begin. And finally, a home opener coming up that on Saturday against MSOE at 12 noon inside the John Boog Fieldhouse. Mackenzie Wockenfus, a senior on the team, a senior setter, kind enough to join us. And I'm going to test your memory a little bit. We go back to the first time you got on the court in 2016 as a sophomore. What do you remember about just your first opportunity to take the courts, to be in uniform, to be a college athlete, to play for the Falcons?
It was super exciting, and I remember Janelle just kind of threw me in the game, and I was super nervous, but I mean my team at the time, they made me feel super welcome. They all believed in me, so it made it a lot easier for me to believe in myself.
For you, was it a big adjustment going from high school to the collegiate game?
The speed at which you play is a lot faster in college, so that was the biggest adjustment, especially as a setter. You're the one that moves the ball around, so I had to adjust the speed of my sets quite a bit.
How about your role? Does that change at all from your days at Appleton East versus now?
I was a setter all through high school, ever since I really started playing volleyball in 5th grade, so that role specifically didn't change a whole lot, but from going to a senior leader to a freshman who had to kind of work my way back up into getting playing time and such, so that changed. But overall, the setter is kind of the person who runs the court, so you have to be confident in yourself.
And we'll talk about it a little bit later on as we go along, but the Falcons do run with two setters, and we'll talk about dynamics of that in a little bit. But okay, 2016, your first year on the court, team goes 11-0 in conference play to win the regular season title. They win a tournament championship, and for the first time in program history, qualify for the NCAA tournament. That had to be unbelievable just to know that forever, when you look at the history of this program, you're part of the first ever NCAA tournament team.
Yeah, it was super unbelievable at the time, and even now, we have that expectation for ourselves to make it, especially back-to-back years. But yeah, the first time was truly it was so special, and that team will forever have a special place. So.
That tournament championship matchup against Aurora, you had 19 assists and 10 digs. Let's go back to now last year, and kind of the same resume, 11-0 in conference play to win the regular season title, a tournament championship, and again able to qualify for the NCAA tournament. Did it have a different feel, or was it after you guys had the success in 2016, you kind of had the formula?
I would say it was more of an expectation last year. We knew that we could do it again. We didn't really lose. We lost one senior, and we were able to step up and fill in that shoes. And I don't know, I think it was really just an expectation for us last year to make it there again. So.
In the NCAA tournament and of facing Carthage from Bloomington, was that maybe a different mindset? Okay, it's great to be in the NCAA tournament, you want to win. There's no question you guys are going out there to compete, but I'm going to venture to guess that first year, the excitement of being there. Okay, now the second year, you guys know what it's all about, and you're there to prove something.
No, exactly. The first year it was okay, let's experience this for what it is. Let's do our best that we can. The second year we'd already played and beaten Carthage. So to play them again, they scouted us really well. They played phenomenally, and we definitely didn't adjust as well as we could have. So this year definitely is a year that we're chomping to get back at the bit and take on teams in advance in the NCAA tournament. So.
When you look at last year's success, before we start looking to this year's success already in the first few weeks, what do you think was the key? Why were you guys able to repeat? Why were you guys so successful again?
I think our team chemistry was just unbelievable. We all knew what we were going to do before we were going to do it. And so just the fact that we were such great friends on and off the court, and we just connected so well, I think really helped our chemistry.
So you look at this fall, and to no surprise, team predicted again to finish first. Aurora expected to be right there as well. The team's now won back-to-back regular season titles. They've won back-to-back tournament titles. They've been to the NCAA tournament back-to-back years. You guys have won 26 now straight conference matchups. Is there pressure? I mean, do you feel the pressure? Because, every team wants to be that team that knocks off Concordia.
Well, we definitely know every team's going to be playing their best game when they play us, as we saw with Lakeland. They played great, and you got to give it to them. They really put up a fight for us. So for me personally, it's really exciting to kind of have that target on our back, but hopefully we can perform.
I'm glad you brought up that Lakeland matchup. That was my next question. You had the Muskies on Wednesday, the 5-setter. How wild was that match?
It was insane. I mean, the fan section at Lakeland is always very intense, so it's always a treat to play there. But we did what we needed to do to pull out the win, and what I really liked is we stayed calm in that fifth set, even when it was Lakeland had game point 3 times, I think, and we did what we needed to do to pull out the win. So,
You mentioned earlier that you split these setting responsibilities. Haley Cito, no different in that particular matchup against the Muskies. So how does that dynamic work?
I think we actually work very well together. So what you kind of do, you kind of stick with the hitters that you have. So I have the same hitters every rotation that I'm in, and she has the same hitters that she has every rotation she's in. And you really form a connection with those hitters. So it's really not that different having it, because we each have kind of our own separate lineups when we're in.
And I'm guessing now that you know, not only from your high school days but your collegiate days, I mean, you've gotten used to, you know, having to make those split-second decisions. But what goes into that? How do you know where to go with that ball at a given moment?
Well, you're supposed to, as a setter, you pay attention to the blockers on the other side of the net. You pay attention to which hitters are hot at the moment. Like Megan Mayer gets pretty hot, and you just keep feeding her the ball. You keep that fast tempo so the middle can't get out there to close the block, and she just buries them every time. Same thing with Holly Anderson, Kelsey Kleva. They get hot at their specific times, and you just feed them the ball.
And I'm guessing with the chemistry you have with these players, you know where they want the ball.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Where to place it.
Holly and I, she's been my right side the past 2 seasons now, so her and I, like, we have almost like an unspoken, like, I know exactly where she's going to be, and she knows where I'm going to put the ball. Same with Megan and Kelsey and Kendall. We have a pretty good tempo by now, so.
No question, winning is fun. How much fun was this past week? And you guys had some good non-conference challenges, and you guys were able to pass all 3 of those tests.
It was great to get some revenge on St. Mary's after losing to them. I think that match alone shows how much we've grown in the past week alone. And then to beat Carthage, that's always a team we want to beat, especially ranked. That's huge for our program. And then Chicago as well, they're basically ranked 26th right now. So it was nice to get a win over them as well.
Competition withstanding, tonight at Edgewood will wrap up this stretch and now 10 straight away from home to begin the campaign. Has that been a challenge? I mean, you guys are a close-knit group. You guys have been together for a number of years now. Is it difficult being on the road for such a long stretch and not being at home, or is it not something you guys really think about?
I think that being away, like, it definitely isn't as much fun as being home, like when we have our home crowd and the fans there. But, I mean, we've definitely been able to take care of business away, so I'm excited to see how well we can perform when we're actually at home in our own turf.
Like I asked Sam from the men's golf team, I'll ask you the same thing. What goals have you set for yourself and for your team? I know, obviously, you guys have done so much already in 2 years. What's left to do? What do you want to do?
We definitely have the same goals as last year and the year before. Win conference again, go to the tournament. We'd like to advance in the tournament. That's a huge goal of ours. Now we've not only been there twice, but now we'd like to win some games there as well. As far as personal goals, probably just continue connecting with my hitters, push my team to be the best that they can be. It's hard to have personal goals without including the team in volleyball, since it's such a team sport. So,
Mackenzie, thanks a lot for your time. Continued success as a team, off to a 7-2 beginning, going into their matchup against Edgewood. And come out Saturday, 12 noon, MSOE, the matchup, conference play, finally a home matchup inside the John Book Fieldhouse. We'll look forward to it, and again, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, God never intended for us to live a comfortable life. He created us to go outside our comfort zones, to use our gifts and talents in the service of others, to live a you-first life in a me-first world. At Concordia University, it's our mission to prepare you for that path, so that you stand apart from the crowd and live a life that's actually uncommon. Concordia University. Live uncommon.
Welcome back to the Falcon Focus Podcast, and we thank both of our guests, Sam Schlosser from the men's golf team, Mackenzie Wockenfus from the volleyball squad. Again, they will be at home. We'll talk about that in a second, coming up on Saturday at 12 noon. And again, you can check out this podcast. We're live every Tuesday from 9:30 to 10 on Facebook Live. We're outside the the Falcons Nest Student Union. And, of course, you can watch the archive at cuwfalcons.com. You can download the audio from Podbean. You can find that link as well at cuwfalcons.com. So what does the week ahead look like for Falcon Athletics? Well, tonight, on this Tuesday, the 18th of September, mentioned the women's volleyball team wraps up their stretch of 10 straight away from the John Book Fieldhouse. They will be at Edgewood. Edgewood expected to be a top 3 finisher. They will serve set 1 of the best of 5 at 7 p.m. Again, the Falcons come in having won 26 consecutive conference matches. On Wednesday, tomorrow, men's golf will be in action. A dual meet at the Southwest Technical College from Madison, Wisconsin. Men's soccer, they have their conference opener. Men's soccer team that won the conference championship last year. They've won 2 out of the last 3 conference championships. They're predicted to take second behind Dominican. They'll be home for their conference opener at against Marion at 4 p.m. If you cannot be at Fitting Field in person, we'll have the game broadcast for you, the multi-camera broadcast for you on the Falcon Athletic Network. Women's soccer also is their conference opener. The women's soccer team predicted 4th this year. They will be in Fond du Lac against Marion. They kick things off at 7 p.m. On Friday, women's tennis will be in action. In fact, they'll be in action Friday and Saturday, part of the ITA Regional Championship. Also, ACHA men's hockey gets underway. They will start Friday at Marquette, Saturday home against Marquette at 8:30 p.m. Speaking of Saturday, another busy Saturday in Falcon Athletics, and on the 22nd of September, women's golf in action both Saturday and Sunday. They will be at the UW Whitewater Fall Invitational. Men's golf will be in action Saturday and Sunday at the Wisconsin Lutheran Fall Invitational. Mentioned women's volleyball finally is at home inside the John Book Fieldhouse, where the team went 14-1 a year ago. MSOE is up first, 12 noon. If you cannot be inside the John Book Fieldhouse for the matchup, well, the game broadcast for you on the Falcon Athletic Network. Field hockey, they get things started in conference play. It's the Southern Athletic Association opener. That coming up at Transylvania at 10 a.m. on Saturday. They also will be at Center coming up on Sunday. They get things started as well at 10 a.m. Men's soccer will be in action again on Saturday at Benedictine. That's at 7:30. That will follow women's soccer, will be in action on Saturday at Benedictine at 5:30. Also note women's soccer will be at UW Oshkosh on Sunday for their final non-conference matchup. That game gets underway at 2 p.m. from J.J. Keller Field at Titan Stadium. Last year, the Falcons beat Oshkosh by a 1-0 score, only the 3rd win all-time in 15 tries against the Titans. So that is the week ahead, and of course, you can check out cuwfalcons.com throughout the week for complete updates, the stats, recaps from those matchups, and of course, we'll recap everything that happened this week coming up next Tuesday here on the podcast. Thanks for joining us here for Falcon Focus. Again, you can check out the archive, cuwfalcons.com, download the audio, Podbean. You can find the link at cuwfalcons.com. For all involved in our broadcast, Matt Menzl saying so long. Go Falcons. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday for the Falcon Focus Podcast from 9:30 to 10 here from the Falcons Nest in the Student Union on cuwfalcons.com.